and welcome back for season 2 of the Wellness on Purpose podcast. Here at the Wellness on Purpose podcast, we appreciate that there is no linear path along one's wellness journey and understand how easy it can be to get caught up in the latest health trends found on social media. Our intention is to provide you with impactful, educational, and realistic information to help you progress on your journey to live wellness on purpose now and for future generations. For the launch of Season 2, our host and nutritionist Marissa Laughlin will be offering you guidance through the Back to Basics series, in which she will cover topics such as digestion, sleep, stress, and balanced nutrition. If you are ready to progress on your journey, stay here and take notes. Hey guys, it's Marissa here, and welcome back to part 2 of the 4-part Back to Basics series. Today, I want to talk to you guys about stress. So first off, let's acknowledge what stress is. Stress is a psychological and physiological response that occurs when the body is pushed outside of its comfort zone. This can be anything from being pushed out of your regular routine, changing your directions to work, changing your shift schedule, changing your eating habits. It can really be anything that isn't the normal to you. And what's very unique is everybody's stress is different. Everyone has different stressors, different coping mechanisms, and different ways that the body can adapt to get back into a state of homeostasis. The body adapts to stress with the help of the nervous system and the endocrine system. So first off, let's talk about the autonomic nervous system. There are 2 parts that I want to address. First is the sympathetic nervous system. This is actually what allows the body to make a decision in a fight or flight situation and when the body's under any type of state of stress. It can be anything from choosing to run from a bear or stay, choosing to jump out of a plane, or really any single decision that the body has to make. The sympathetic nervous system is activated in order for the body to make that decision. What I really want to highlight is actually the parasympathetic nervous system. So this is known as the rest and digest state. We aren't in this state enough, and that's why so many people suffer with high levels of stress, high levels of anxiety, depression, mood disorders, digestive issues, and so on. When the body has to adapt to a state of stress and either jump into a sympathetic state or come to the rest and digest state, we require the endocrine system to help the body do that. The 2 specific glands that I want to talk about are the pituitary gland, which is known as our master gland, and the adrenal glands. So first off, the pituitary gland releases adrenocorticopic hormones, which help to signal the adrenal glands to help to manage our stress. From there, the adrenal glands are the control center for helping the body to adapt to the situation it needs to. The adrenal glands are really the control center for helping us to manage the stress. It secretes different hormones like adrenaline and cortisol, which help us to manage our body during that fight or flight response. Both hormones are essential to helping the body stay functioning and making decisions, but there can always be too much of a good thing happening. When the endocrine system is actively secreting these hormones for a long period of time, unfortunately, the body can get to a state of fatigue. And some of those symptoms that we can be mindful of when we're in a state of fatigue is exhaustion and tiredness on a regular basis, struggling to get up after 7 to 8 hours of sleep, feeling run down, overwhelmed, or heavy, frequent illness, cravings for salty foods, dependent on caffeine, emotional breakdowns, compromised relationships with your peers, your friends, your family, your workers, your significant other, feeling very run down after an exercise rather than feeling energized, and a sudden weight gain or weight loss. These symptoms can look different for everybody, but these are just some common indications that maybe the adrenal glands are working a little bit too hard and we need to bring down the stress levels. So how do we do that? There are 4 things that I want to specifically talk about with you today on how you can manage your stress. First off, you need to check in with yourself. And I really mean check in with yourself every single day. You need to ask yourself, where am I at? And this could be simply reflecting at the kitchen table, drinking your cup of coffee, or this can be sitting down, journaling, and really asking yourself in-depth questions to really dig deep under the layers to see where the root cause of your stress is coming from. So when you're checking in with yourself, ask yourself, where are my emotions today? How reactive am I to my stress? How packed is my schedule? Am I organized? What are my daily habits? And really ask yourself, are these daily habits contributing to my stress load or relieving my stress load? If they're contributing to your stress load, we need to figure out how we can get that out of your schedule or your daily habits to help alleviate that level of stress. And then lastly, ask yourself, where is my tolerance level at? Because every single day, that tolerance level will change. If you're a female, it can be based on your cycle. It can be based on other hormones being produced. It can be based on your environment, your work environment, your home life. So many different things play an impact on how you can be reactive to your stress and how you can help to manage it. Once you've checked in with yourself, the next thing I want you to do is identify your stressors. And this is where it's very unique. Although many people might have similar stressors, so examples might be work, family, finances, personal goals, those can be pretty common amongst many people, but the stem as to why those are your stressors can be very unique and different amongst you. Some other stressors might be negative surroundings, negative influences, lack of sleep, lack of nourishment, lack of drive or passion, built up emotion, built up resentment is huge. Chronic inflammation or chronic infection, autoimmune conditions, toxic overload, endocrine overload. So that's when your body is working way too hard to kind of filter things out to help get into a homeostasis that's healthy for your body and how to move forward from a stress load. Nutritional deficiencies, mood imbalances, different diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, compromised digestive system, hormone disruptors, and environmental toxins. And what I encourage you to do is actually look at these stressors on a monthly basis because they can change day to day. One week might be a financial stress. The next week might be more toxic overload. Maybe you've consumed more toxic food or toxic drinks or been exposed to other toxic environments. It can be built up emotions. Every single week it can change. So what I like to do and what I'd encourage you to do is actually make a list. And every month, the beginning of every month, check in with yourself. See if those stressors are still present or if you've alleviated them. If you continuously look back and the stressors are the same month in, month out, you need to understand why they're still your stressors. What can you do to change it? Or what can you do to have more positive outlook on that stressor? The third thing I want you to do is learning how to adapt to your stressors. This is huge because there's two sides to the coin here. There's positive adaptation to your stressors, and then there's negative adaptation to your stressors. And unfortunately, many people can fall on both sides of that spectrum, and I'm 100% guilty of that as well. So first, let's talk about the positive things that you can do to adapt to your stress. First off, meditation. Meditation is huge because this is actually a way to get into a rest and digest state. When we're meditating, we can actually dive deeper into the subconscious and get into a rest and digest state where the parasympathetic nervous system is activated. This is huge. This is healing. This is transformational if you take the time to make this part of your daily routine. Meal prep. Maybe nourishment or proper food or eating habits is a huge stressor for you. If you meal prep and you're aware of what you're consuming, this can alleviate a lot of that stress. Movement. Movement is huge. What I want to talk about with movement, though, is specifically the types of movement. Like I said, if you are feeling absolutely drained after an exercise, this is a good indication that the body is under too much stress to handle the level of stress that the body is impacted in by certain types of movement. So if you are doing heavy weight training, long runs, doing several different types of exercise in one session, then the body can be in an elevated level of stress. And that's when the adrenals are going to work in overdrive and the pituitary gland, and we're not going to get into that rest and digest state after our workouts. If you are someone who's living a chronic life of stress, then maybe looking at movement that's going to lower the stress, such as meditation, yoga, Pilates, things that don't require as much of a dramatic impact on the body for recovery. Self-care routine. This is so, so important. At this day and age, if you don't have a self-care routine, what are you even doing? It looks different for everybody, but I think it's something that some people thought was very taboo and was very social media driven. But I truly believe that your self-care routine is really going to help you thrive in your day-to-day routines. Resting. Resting is by far one of the most important underprescribed tools for people to help reduce stress, improve digestion, fight fatigue, and feel good. You should be getting anywhere from 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Some people require longer. I'm going to say I feel better at about 9.5 hours a night. And that's due to having a stressful life. And I know that when I have a longer period of relaxation and deeper sleep, then I won't feel as much of the stress impact following my regular routines. Goal setting. Goal setting is really important because you're working towards something. This is giving you drive and passion and inspiration to move forward in your life. And it could be anything. It could be goal driven at work, home life, your home, working towards getting a home, goals in your relationships, whether it's with your significant other or a family member. Having goals to work towards just keeps the motivation going, keeps you engaged in your life. And that's really important. You don't want to lose the engagement and your drive and your passion in your everyday life. Now let's talk about some negative ways that some people choose to adapt to their stressors. Stimulants. This is huge. And when I say stimulants, I don't just mean alcohol or recreational drugs or tobacco or those types of stimulants. One of the biggest overuse of stimulants that many people forget about is caffeine. Caffeine and sugar, actually. Both of those are huge. Caffeine is something that a lot of people will actually use as a coping mechanism to help with fatigue, to help with stress, to help suppress the appetite. Some people will use it as a meal replacement, not even necessarily intentionally, but rather than taking the time to rest, eat a good, healthy, nourishing meal, digest it before getting back to work. Some people will just supplement with a cup of coffee. Also, some people rely on coffee to get their days going. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but when we come too dependent on those types of things, that becomes an unhealthy relationship with that thing, whether it is caffeine or alcohol or sugar. And we want to make sure that all relationships that we have are healthy and positive. Overeating, undereating, those are huge as well. Like I said, some people will supplement meals with stimulants like caffeine or alcohol. I know I'm guilty. Sometimes that's breakfast, or sometimes a glass of wine is dinner. But it's acknowledging that that is not a healthy way to adapt to what the stress is that's going on in your life right now. Another big one that a lot of people may not mention is actually overspending. This is another one that I find very common. I'm so guilty of this. If I've had a really bad day, the first thing I want to do is go to Winners. And if you are a female or a friend of mine, I can tell you right now, I can hear you say amen to that. It's so common. It seems easy. And you know what? You could just go to a store and not buy anything. But the whole point of going, having that downtime, focusing on something that's outside, that's not, relevant really necessarily right now in your life, somehow is therapeutic, but not necessarily in a good way. Over exercising, like I mentioned earlier, if you're feeling chronically fatigued after an exercise, even though you're trying to use it as a stress reducer, it sometimes is not helping the body actually get into a state of rest and digest after a workout, or even throughout the day or evening as well. And passing time. Some people, boredom, unfortunately, can be another way that people try to adapt to their stress, and they just fill their time with not as rewarding tasks or things that they could be doing to progress on their wellness journey. So, once you have acknowledged, checked in with yourself, identified your stressors, adapt to your stressors, now the real question is, how do you manage that? So you know what the stressors are, you know how you react to them, you know how your body functions, but what's the secret to helping to manage? Because unfortunately, although you might know what your stressors are and you might choose healthy coping mechanisms, sometimes those stressors are not just going to disappear. So you still have to be able to understand how to manage them and how to create less stress in other areas of your life so that when those stressors are present, they're not having as much of a dramatic impact on the body long term. So 3 ways that you can manage your stress: healthy daily routine, proper nourishment, and additional supporting supplements. So first, let's talk about a healthy routine. And when I say healthy routine, I'm talking morning and night. Not just a little fluffy, get up, get ready, have a smoothie, get to work. I'm talking about things that are actually providing the body with additional nourishment and support to help the body reduce the stress. So I'm going to give you an idea of what my ideal routines look like. So morning routine, general hygiene. The first thing I do is tongue scrape when I wake up. Really great for promoting better digestion by making sure that we're removing any bacterial overgrowth that's formed overnight. Then I like to brush my teeth, do a little dry brushing, hop in the shower, and always finish with an oil massage. lubricating the body, the joints, that all helps with bringing nourishment to the body. So I think it's really important for an oil massage after a shower. Next up would be meditation and journal. This can look so different for everybody. Some people will actually put pen to paper and write down, your to-do list for the day. First 3 pages that come to mind. It can be a brain dump, whether that's business related, relationship related, work related, whatever that is, getting out whatever's been built up overnight. Next, I like to hydrate. Super important. Before drinking or eating, always have a glass of water. I also like to add a pinch of sea salt to my water. Really great for helping with the body actually absorb the water, get into the muscles, help with sodium and potassium balance, and it's a great way to start the digestive system as well. Next up, nourish. Do not skip breakfast. I repeat, do not skip breakfast. It is so important after sleeping and after being in a rest and digest state to consume a nourishing, healthy breakfast that contains a healthy fat and is packed with protein. Lastly, the other thing you can do in the morning is your movement. This looks different for everybody. Some people don't have the drive first thing in the morning to make movement happen, and that's okay. If you are someone who likes to do it to get their morning going, starting with something that's very energizing, like a quick yoga session, Pilates, maybe running or walking, quick weight training, HIIT workout, stretching, whatever that might be, that's going to support the body overall for the day. Next up is my evening routine. I always try to set myself up for the next day, whether that's packing my lunch, getting my water bottle ready. Sometimes I'll make my smoothie at night so it saves time in the morning. I have 2 dogs, so I like to get their breakfast ready in the evening for the next day as well. Just anything that I can do in the evening that's going to automate my morning and reduce the pace that I have to get at to get out of the door, I find very, very helpful. Quiet time. Very important. I try to go into bed around 8:15, 8:30, usually asleep by 9:30, 10, and I like to take that time to wind down. Sometimes I will be watching something on Netflix or reading a book, and then sometimes I might be listening to a light meditation track or some light music, or sometimes just laying down, talking to my partner, or just relaxing. I also try to reduce my screen time. So if I am going to be watching something on TV within the hour before I'm going to bed, I always try to wear blue light blocking glasses. This helps to reduce the exposure to different blue lights that are in screens because unfortunately blue light inhibits melatonin production, and melatonin is actually really important for helping you fall asleep. Not necessarily staying asleep, but helping you get into the state of sleepiness and regulating your sleep cycles. Melatonin is the secret answer. Also, adequate sleep. I find it really important to try to be in bed and asleep by 10:30, no later. They say that every hour before 12 a.m. you are asleep. It's almost like you're sleeping for 2 hours. The body really appreciates when you get to bed early. All right, next up, my favorite topic is nourishing through stress management. How you're fueling the body during the day is really important to allow the body to adapt to your stress. So some things that are really great for supporting the body through states of stress are omega-rich foods. So that could include avocados, fish, salmon, tuna, nuts and seeds, coconut oils, avocado oils, olive oils, any of those good, healthy omega-rich foods. Also leafy greens, antioxidant-rich foods, really, really good. Lots of fresh produce. You're getting so much nutrients and enzymes, antioxidants from bright pigmented foods, chlorophyll from your greens, really great for supporting the body to help it with managing stress. Also fermented vegetables. If you tune into last week's part 1 of the Back to Basics series, I talked about digestion, and something I talked about was fermented foods to help support the digestive system. So the digestive system and our brain are linked directly. There is a direct connection between the gut-brain barrier, and when the brain is compromised, the digestive system is compromised, and vice versa. When the digestive system is compromised, our brain health is compromised. So fermented foods can really help to nourish the gut lining to support brain, cognitive, memory, and all of the above. So some of those fermented foods I like to consume on a regular basis are sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, yogurt, kombucha, tempeh, miso, and different types of yeast. I also recommend taking ginger and turmeric as they are both anti-inflammatories, and when we are under a state of stress, inflammation rises. So both of those herbs can help to reduce the inflammatory response to help the body reach a state of equilibrium. Also, garlic and onions is a really great support to help kill off any bacteria that can contribute to the inflammation happening through the GI system, which can also elevate stress levels in the body. The other thing we need to talk about is depleting nutrients. So things that actually have a negative impact on the body, especially in a state of stress. So first and foremost, let's talk about processed foods. So really anything that's being processed into a packaged product that has a nutritional label on it that could be shelf stable. We want to try to eliminate or even completely cut out any processed foods and packaged foods. Excess dairy. So I am someone who does recommend having good quality, organic, nourishing, full-fat dairy, but when you're having it in large consumptions or several times a day, it can have an inflammatory response on the body. Gluten-containing grains. Many people struggle to actually break down gluten-containing proteins. If you are looking to optimize your digestion, improve your mood, fight your fatigue, and help to reduce the stress response in the body, I do recommend avoiding all gluten-containing grains. Refined foods, fried foods, food additives such as coloring and flavors, stimulants, and refined white sugar. That's a huge one. It's very hard to remove refined white sugar, but there are many ways that you can substitute natural sweeteners to reduce the exposure to the refined sugars. Last up, let's talk about additional nourishing supplements. 2 things I do recommend for everyone to take if you are in a state of stress are B vitamins and magnesium, because both of these nutrients are depleted in any type of stress. Especially if we're looking at women who are regulating hormones, we do require B vitamins to help maintain hormonal levels. So making sure that you are supplementing with a good quality B vitamin that has active Bs in it. Some of my favorite brands that I would recommend are NFH B Complex, Thorne Stress B, NACA Biomax B, and Garden of Life B Complex. Next up, magnesium. This is really important to help the body to get into a state of relaxation. It helps promote a more alkaline environment for the body to thrive in, and proper muscle function requires magnesium. Some of my favorite magnesium brands I recommend are Pure Encapsulations Magnesium Glycinate, NACA Magnesium Bisglycinate, and also CanPrev. CanPrev actually makes a powdered magnesium glycinate, which is also really great if the whole family needs it. So it's great to dose for children and adults, and they tend to have a really great flavor as well. So let's do a quick little recap. First, you're going to check in with yourself. Ask yourself how you're doing, how you're feeling, get a good sense of where your baseline's at. Secondly, you want to identify your stressors. What are they? Are they the same stressors every single month? And are you aware of what your stressors are? Third, you're going to adapt. Are you having positive or negative coping mechanisms to help you adapt to your stress levels? And then lastly, you're going to manage. And the 3 ways I recommend managing your stress levels would be having a healthy morning and evening routine, nourishing the body properly, and adding in additional supplements. And that pretty much wraps up part 2 of the Back to Basics series on stress. So if you guys have any questions, you can contact me directly at marissa@joannesplace.ca. Otherwise, you can find me here next week as we talk about sleep cycles. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share on social media that you're listening to the Wellness on Purpose podcast.